as human beings, the less we have to mentally grasp in volume, the more engaged we become. It's the same in messaging. It's the same in strategies. You're going to see just throughout my career, I've seen far more success with strategies that are simple and focused around one big idea.
So let's talk for a minute about the questions coming up. Again, content, customer experience, branding, customer engagement, and career planning. These are very big topics right now, and we are ready to address them. So Michael Taylor has more than 2 decades of working with over 150 of some of the world's top brands on marketing strategy and branding, among other strategy-related topics. And he's with us today from Atlanta, Georgia. Michael Taylor, good afternoon.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going well. I'm so glad you could join us today.
Happy to be here.
Yeah, so we've been getting a lot of questions, and we're waiting for some people to join up here and tell us where they're from today. Tell us what's one of the hot topics that you've been seeing out in the market as we slowly emerge from the COVID cocoon?
Well, I think probably the biggest one is virtualization, and settling on what I'm seeing is a focus on some kind of a hybrid model. I think many of our clients are starting to go out. They're starting to do their live sessions. They're starting to do their conferences, but not everybody's going. And so, I would say the next normal is that some people are going to show up to events, and then some people are going to come in virtually. So there's a lot of discussion about how to do that and how to do everything hybrid, right? Is how to use the virtual tools that we all been using, and how do we integrate those into the kind of seeping back of live events. I would say that's at the top. I also think that because people have not been meeting, there's a lot more noise on the social channels, because those are our channels. So there's the sheer volume of messaging, and I guess the need to break through that noise is a big topic nowadays.
I think if you haven't done it already and you're watching this live stream, make sure that you follow Michael on one of my favorite channels, which is LinkedIn, because one of the things you call yourself, Michael, is an eternal doodler.
Yeah.
I love that you say that in your profile. You are really good at getting people's attention when you post something. How did you come to start eternally doodling instead of just reposting other people's content?
Well, anybody who knows me knows I think with my hands, and I'm a big whiteboarder, and I think in pictures. So I'm always drawing stuff. I mean, if there's an idea, to me, it's easier to express drawing it. So I have thousands of these ideas and thoughts just stockpiled in my sketchbooks. And so I was like, let me just put them out there and share some tips and ideas, and just use the style that I would use in person. So it's helpful to me, because I've been a little frustrated not being in live sessions with people and doing workshops. And you know what? It's been great. I mean, people pay attention to it, and it always gets a good conversation going. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. So yeah, the doodling is definitely a thing.
How do you get your audience's attention? What is it you're doing now that might be a little different from what you did before the pandemic hit? I'm curious to see what people say, Michael. I'm also finding that some senior executives are assuming now that people have more time to work because they're not commuting, or now let's just pile on a whole bunch of other priorities on people. And I'm noticing a lot of frustration and burnout. That was one of the questions that I am getting really often from people after the live streams. I think it'd be fun for us to talk about how do we help people to make sure that they can get more aligned around a finite set of priorities. What thoughts do you have around that?
Well, I think the goal is to organize your efforts around a very finite and few set of priorities, because as human beings, the less we have to mentally grasp in volume, the more engaged we become. It's the same in messaging. It's the same in strategies. You're going to see just throughout my career, I've seen far more success with strategies that are simple and focused around one big idea. It could have subpoints, but around one big idea, than what we call these worksheet strategies that are just piles and piles of granular details, right? Now, these granular details need to be done, but if they're not wrapped in a single burning spear priority, it's really hard for people to understand why they're doing things. So, I think there's a level of, granularity. How many things am I throwing at people? And there's also a matter of gravity, right? One priority that everybody's passionate about, and then, wrapping it around there. So yeah, I do think people have too many priorities, are getting burned out. Too much.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just too much. This is hearkening back to a time I was consulting to a large enterprise software company, and the CEO brought everybody together at this big conference. Well, it was their top 30 leadership team members. And we were at a similar time where there had been a real dip in the market. The economy was not going so well, and there were discussions around potential recessions. And this software CEO, who had to bring everybody together and kind of rally the troops again, got up in front of us. And I will never forget it. It was this beautiful office, surrounded by glass walls and very fancy. And he said, well, I want everybody to get ready. I put together a PowerPoint presentation, and I want to walk you through the 36 goals and priorities that we have for the next year. Now, this is called the You Cannot Make This Up department. And within 6 months, the company, the software firm, was sold for pennies on the dollar because nobody could focus on 36 priorities. It was sad.
Yeah. It's easier to do, phalanxes of strategies and piles. It is very hard. It's very hard to get that focused and that simple. Yeah. For two reasons, for whittling it down, but also the more focused you become, the more accountable you become, which means the more likely there's a risk of failure, right? If you become more accountable and more clear about what you're trying to do, you also feel more risk. So 36 priorities, I'm sorry, but you can hide under you put a Mack truck through that. You can hide in 36 priorities and be unaccountable completely, right?
I also think it's a great time to share what you and I are seeing around the types of skills that are helping marketing executives get promoted faster and contribute more broadly to the growth conversation, not the order fulfillment conversations that you and I chatted about, but truly the growth conversations in their organizations. What are you seeing bubbling up to the surface now as some really key skill areas?
Well, I would say maybe it's a macro skill, not necessarily a marketing skill. And that's the ability to change, to be agile in how you develop your marketing and to be able to change. Because I think the one skill we all need right now is the ability to adapt, and not only adapt, but to see opportunities when things change, so that we're not constantly surprised and flummoxed by our current world, right? So I would say that the ability to experiment, the ability to message test very quickly, of course, that involves, the right technologies and channels to do it in, but having that skill to do that, and then to step back and say, hey, our strategy seemed really smart 6 months ago. Now it's just not working, right? And the ability to stop and to be able to shift and to refocus things, I think, is a big skill. And I would say it's a big skill for everybody, not just marketing.
Yes, you and we worked with such a great client that was in the nonprofit sector, and that was one of their key areas they wanted to really beef up, was this culture of experimentation, this willingness to take risks and know you're going to make some mistakes. And as long as it's not illegal, immoral, or unethical, you can make mistakes. And
Yeah.
boy, through them as well. And, they had a huge revenue gap they needed to close, and they just weren't closing it because they were holding back, right? They were afraid to take big leaps. And then when they did take a big leap, sometimes it could take them 2 years to get to that other side of the mountain ridge. So it was great to work with them and see how they started to dramatically improve and feel more confident about trying new things in short bursts of experimentation.
Yeah,
That
I
was
remember
fun.
the one struggle, or I think that it's not a struggle, but it's an important thing that I noted during that engagement, was you have people who are naturally agile. They can just go into the fog and work things out, and they're completely comfortable with it. And there's some people who are perfectly brilliant and skilled, and they hate that. They cannot stand to move quick and to change things up. So I think that in these, like this big organization like this, you have all the different thinking styles, right? And you need them all, but you also need them to work together. So you need the native agile people to understand that some people have to be addressed in a certain way to be more agile, but they're never going to say be as agile as somebody who just wakes up in the fog and loves it, right? So that, to me, that was a big factor in how this brilliant client, that was a challenge for him, right? Is to get everybody on board and to move faster than they were.
Yes, our biggest enemy in those situations is typically tradition and experience. Wait a minute, you're saying, wait, Lisa, that's contrarian. I thought tradition and experience would serve us better. But in reality, they work against us in this new world of marketing. And we need to accept that and say, let me put those aside and try a new approach. I just find that I'm a heck of a lot more creative when I say I'm excited than when I say I'm afraid. Because how blessed are we here sitting in this LinkedIn discussion group today that nobody's shooting at us. We are not, our basic needs are met, and we get to spend time with each other, learning and growing. To me, that's a heck of a lot more about excitement than fear, don't you think?
Yeah, I think fear certainly puts you in the weakest thinking mode. And when you feel good, there's a piece of your brain that opens up, that's fluid with ideas, and also is more sharp about seeing opportunities. If you're afraid, opportunities can bounce off of your face and you wouldn't see them, right? But if you feel strong and you feel great, and you at least carve out some time to look at the world, to look at your market, and to look at the changes going on from a little bit of distance from your fear, you can see things. And sometimes they jump out at you, right? Because you're in the right mindset. So yeah, I think there is definitely a psychology component to that. There are people, again, just like the agile, some people are born agile. Some people are born more optimistic.
If any of you follow the work of Dr. David Hawkins, who wrote this seminal book called Power versus Force, where he spent 50 years researching human behavior and human potential. And what he learned is that, our positivity, our optimism, our ability to put our head above the clouds and look out and say, what's next, is a whole different, I'll call it, and I'm going to get a little woo-woo here. Uh, you know, it's there's a spiritual element to this, but it's also a different vibration of energy than woe is me, the sky is falling, Eeyore. It's a whole different mindset, and it's our job to come together here in these forums and be optimists and maybe be pragmatic optimists. I'd like to wrap up with a question around some of the core areas that we can study going forward as we create a new path going forward to grow our businesses in this virtual hybrid world of customer interaction. Is there a particular skill you personally are going to be developing or cultivating further, Michael?
Well, there's one I'm always cultivating because it's one of the more powerful things I hear from clients that I do, and that is to facilitate decision making, to hold workshops where in a very short period of time you can get people to decide things that they've been struggling with for months or years. So that's always something I'm trying to hone my chops on. And I would say now there's an emphasis on doing that hybrid model or virtualizing some of those facilitated workshops. So I'm really trying to notch that up because I think that is a skill that's very important right now, is the ability to quickly make informed decisions. And I think anything that does that, because when we go into these big clients, what is the biggest problem? They're not deciding. They're not making decisions. They're leaving them on the table. And sometimes that's what's going on. They just need to come together, make a decision they all support, and move on. So I think anything around that, anything around virtualization, including some technology, but also anything around facilitating and organizing a great decision quickly, right, is, I think, a huge thing to learn right now.
Yes. And if any of you are interested in making decisions more quickly, getting to conclusions, and learning how to build your own culture of experimentation, Michael, I think this would be a great time to tell everybody what's coming up on November 3rd.
Yeah, we're going to do a 75-minute workshop. It's complimentary. We're looking for a small group of people. I think we only have a few. Four left. Yeah. Yep. We have a couple of slots. It's a good fit for people who are stuck, like people who own, growth. They own P&L. They're CMOs. They're stuck with internal hurdles. Like we said, they're in decision muck. It's 75 minutes, and we've got a template for working out the foundations that are critical for aligning internal teams to deliver quickly on customer value. All right, that sounds like a whole bunch of consultant language, but these are 5 critical items, pillars that we found in our research are absolutely necessary for people to rally together and deliver value to their customers. And so we're going to come in with that template. We're going to map out the 5 pillars, and they're going to walk away with it. So that's it. It's a lot of fun. It's one of our quick facilitations. So hope we can get the next, couple of people that we're looking for.
Yes. We have already some CMOs from financial services, cybersecurity, publishing, and a couple of other industries. So we would love to hear from you if you're interested and if you qualify. We don't do this very often, so this is your opportunity to take advantage November 3rd. So contact me for details. Michael, it's been great to see you again. And I know you'll be back again next quarter. So have a great weekend. And for those of you watching, make sure you connect with Michael on LinkedIn. Take care, Michael.
Thank you so much. Had a great time, guys. Take care.
Thank you so much for joining our show today. If you'd like to continue to receive mindful marketing insights and invites, be sure to sign up at tinyurl.com/Lisa Nirell, or ring the bell to subscribe and receive notifications for our future live events and videos just like this on YouTube.